Today's story time is about when you meet seems like the perfect person for your life. And you're ready to move on to the next step, which is meeting their family, be it meeting their parents or meeting their kids. And the love and exuberance that you have for them, you're not getting it back from the family. Hi, welcome to my channel. I'm your storyteller and Christian sportswear designer for Yeshua times SLNYC. And this channel is a storytime channel. I sit and I tell real life stories with a little bit of fiction sprinkled in to relate what we see every day and what we go through every day with stories of old and with God's holy word for our lives according to what's in the Bible. So sit back, relax, make sure you have your favorite beverage, make sure you like, share, subscribe, and please, by all means, leave comments. Let me know how you feel, if you have any questions, and let's go back and forth. Okay, and I hope you enjoy the stories. Thanks for watching.
When your kids get married, they are not joining your family. She is not joining our family. He is not joining her family. They are starting a new family. And so what happens is early on, if your parents aren't healthy or don't understand that, they're, oh, it's so great, we're getting a daughter. No, you're not. Your son is getting a wife. Now you can love her as a daughter, but ultimately you're gonna do things differently because you're doing your own family. You may not be around for the holidays. Well, you're gonna be over for Thanksgiving, Christmas, Kwanzaa, Secretary's Day. We're gonna do all the holidays. Oh, we're going on vacation. Of course you're gonna go on vacation with us. And oh, now you got grandkids. We'll bring them along. Next thing you know, you have a horrible marriage because you're not allowed to leave your mother and father. And a lot of times as parents, we'll think like, well, they're gonna make mistakes. Well, that's marriage. We made mistakes. We're still making mistakes. And so the grace that God has for us, He has for them. And the worst thing you could do when you're dating is to not have this concept that the ultimate goal is to start a brand new family and to do things the way that you have convictions as a couple.
Now, he's a pastor, right? And when I heard him say that, I couldn't believe what I was hearing. But at the same time, I acknowledge that there's just a cultural difference because my background is Caribbean and we traditionally take care of our elders. So I, at least growing up, didn't see marriage as I'm just looking for somebody to marry just him. I'm looking at somebody that I have to have a relationship with his parents, and I need him to have something of a relationship with mine, because now this stage of my life is really important. Like, I literally won't date somebody if they don't show love to my mom, because I'm her caretaker. I'm at that stage of life where I'm my mom's caretaker now. So anybody I'm with has to be on that ride with me. Am I saying that he has to take on those like responsibilities, like doctor's appointments and things like that? No. If we're married, of course, and I need for him to fill in once in a while for me because I'm busy or I have to be at work or something like that, then yes, of course, because that's what marriage is, right? You're coming together to live life and make life easier for each other. You're moving as a unit, you're not single. So for me to hear a pastor say, you're not marrying his family, you're just marrying him and vice versa, that just struck me as absolutely inaccurate. It also made me think about, listening to him made me think of the story of Ruth and Naomi in the Old Testament. I don't know if you're familiar with this. So Naomi was a woman in the Bible who moved with her family, her sons, and her daughters-in-law to a place called Moab. And there was famine in the land, and her sons died, and her husband died. And she said to her daughters-in-law, go back to your moms. You've been great and everything, but there's nothing here but loss. There's nothing here but tragedy. I have my Bible open. I don't misquote. Book of Ruth, chapter 1, verse 8, she says, Naomi said unto her 2 daughters-in-law, Go, return each to her mother's house. The Lord deal kindly with you, as ye have dealt with the dead and with me. And it was the 2 daughters. One was named Orpah, and the other was named Ruth. And Ruth got her own book in the Bible because Ruth showed an abiding loyalty and love to her new family that she left her parents' house for, and made covenant with, because that's what marriage is, a covenant with God and with this new family. And she turned to the woman who lost her sons and lost her husband, and she said, entreat, this is verses 16, I think, through 17. I haven't flipped the page, so I don't know if 17 is involved, but I think it is. It says, entreat me not to leave thee, or to return from following after thee. That means let me stay with you, Naomi. I'm turning a leaf here. She says, let me stay with you. She says, for whither thou goest, I will go. Wherever you go, I'll go. And where thou lodgest, I will lodge. Meaning, I know you don't have much, but if you're on the bed, I'll sleep on the floor. Wherever you're at, I'll be there with you. Thy people shall be my people, and thy God my God. Verse 17, where thou diest will I die, and there will I be buried. The Lord do so to me, and more also, if aught but death part thee and me. And what does she say at the end? Till death do us part. So even though my husband died, your son died, I'm still in covenant with you. This is a family thing, and I'm here till the end. Where you die, I die. I'm not going anywhere. That's family. So even at a wedding between 2 people, that's part of the vows, till death do us part. So for me to hear the pastor say that, I'm like, I don't know who's speaking through him right now, or if he's really thinking properly about what he's saying. But that is definitely what came to mind, and that is what I think of when I think of marriage. You know, this is family. And if you come from a home where you've seen, marriages that last. Like, my parents were married for over 50 years, and I know what the entails of marriage, how serious marriage really is, which actually made me shy from it for most of my life, because it's so serious and such a heavy commitment and self-sacrifice. But it's also so beautiful. And that is why it's so important to have a cordial relationship with extended family, especially the family members that are close to your mate and pivotal to the growth and development of your relationship down the road. Another thing to think of, especially like when you're in your 20s, even your 30s, you might not think of it. You might still be in a mindset of, oh, I'm just marrying this person. But when you get to the stage of life where you become the caretaker of the parent, you're gonna want somebody that's willing to team up with you in that effort. And that effort can get very difficult, especially when the parents get sick. And it can happen on both sides. So that's something to take into account as well. You're gonna need somebody that can get along, or at least be respectful to your parents and vice versa, because you're going to be responsible for them. You're not always going to be apart. They're going to need you, and you know what I'm saying? Both sides are going to need you eventually. So that's something to take into account as well. I don't want to talk too long.
Get ready for hell if you marry someone from a bad family. If you marry a good man or a good woman from a bad family, the same fate awaits you. An elderly man once told me that it's better to marry a bad woman from a good family than a good woman from a bad family. That was a bit confusing. I had to keep thinking. It took me a while to process it, and I got the point. It started to eventually make sense. It simply meant that the family you marry into or from determines the longevity of your marriage. Also, this will affect the health and future of that marriage. By all means, marry from and only into a good family. When making a choice for a life partner, never ever compromise on this. Look inwardly into their family to ascertain if it's somewhere you want to be for the long term.
I married into a family who don't like me and who don't respect me. So I think I need to take y'all back to how it all got started. It didn't take my husband long to know that he wanted to marry me. So he took me to meet his mom. After he introduced me, she said hello. And the entire visit, she never spoke a word in English again. I was like, how long she been here in this country? She can't speak English. But I was trying to be understanding. I like, some people here who English as a second language they're not fluent in. But later on, talking to my husband, I found out she was a nurse and a RN nurse. She left Ghana and came to the United States, even though she just wasn't interested in having a conversation with me. So we left. I didn't go back for a long time. I got pregnant. We had a baby. She didn't see my son until he was probably maybe 6 months old. And mind you, they only live like 20, 30 minutes away. When we told her we were getting married, she told my husband she was not coming. She had to work. Thank goodness for the Simmons family because they stood in for his family because he didn't have anybody else to represent him. So when she finally saw my son, she did try to embrace him and hug on him and walked around, was holding him. To her husband said, he's kind of light.
Never compromise on this, not even for love. Go ahead and ask your friend Helen. She married a very decent man, but from a wicked family. She loved him so much and assumed that love alone was enough to keep her marriage together. She saw herself struggling with toxic, manipulative, and abusive in-laws who at every point tried to pull her marriage down. And guess what? These toxic in-laws forever tried to influence her husband negatively. Her once good husband, Eric, succumbed to the pressure from his demonic and irresponsible family.
I think we need to talk about what it's like for me as someone who grew up in a relatively healthy family to marry someone who grew up in an incredibly dysfunctional family. My husband and I have been married for almost 13 years. For the first 10 years of our life together, we really spent a lot of our time catering to the needs of my husband's family. My husband's family operates very, very differently than I do, but because I moved into their hometown, I felt like I was the one that needed to adjust. So I did all that I could to adjust my expectations and my normal to match theirs. We ended up in situations with my in-laws that were really, really toxic. And in the midst of that toxicity, I would look to my husband for some sort of escape plan. But he never had an escape plan. His plan was just to keep your head down and pretend it didn't exist. And I took that as a personal attack. I felt resentment and frustration towards him that he couldn't protect me from them. And it wasn't until very recently that my husband and I were able to discuss how my husband didn't even know how to protect himself from his family, so how in the world was he supposed to protect me? Now that we're on the other side of that, though, my husband and I have pretty much cut all ties with my in-laws. And now, because we're not distracted by their drama anymore, we are now having to confront our own trauma and our own issues that stem from all of the years of giving to them and still being villainized. So now the trauma that we experience manifests itself in really random, unexpected times. My husband grew up having a very, very traumatic childhood, and because of that, he's got all of these landmines hidden inside of him. So when I'm just going about my day and communicating with him, I can say something that triggers some really bad memory of his childhood, and suddenly he's in trauma response mode. And so it takes a lot of effort for me to be able to recognize this is a trauma response and not respond with hurt and offense, because I have to recognize that I'm not the cause of that. He is reacting to some inner turmoil that was caused years and years before I was even in his life. Am I always able to do that? No, absolutely not. That requires a lot more healing on my part and on his. This is the side of healing that I don't think people talk about very often. It can be disorienting and it can be confusing. My husband is literally trying to rewire the way that his brain works. He's no longer in a place where he is constantly threatened. And he has to train his brain to be able to come out of that. And I have to train my brain to quit expecting trauma. This isn't an overnight process, and this isn't something that I'm just going to snap my fingers and figure out. My husband and I are in the weeds of healing right now, and healing is hard.
When I heard that lady saying that she is in the weeds with her husband, trying to work with him through the healing from living a life of trauma with his family. So now she's creating her own family with her husband, but the way he's used to responding to stimulus, the way he's used to responding to things that are difficult, is a response to trauma, and totally opposite from her way of responding. So for her to stay committed in her marriage, she actually has to stay committed to healing, his healing process. That's how serious marriage is. And these things often don't come out until you're actually doing life together. You know, because, like, for instance, you guys were both at work, and the person, one of you come from a quote-unquote healthy background, the other one comes from one of trauma and abuse. And the one who, let's flip it. Let's say the person who comes from the supportive background at home is dealing with trauma and abuse for the first time on the job and doesn't know how to deal with that. And maybe the spouse sees their husband or wife's reaction to trauma at work as overreacting, or having unnecessary anxiety, unnecessary panic attacks that they can't help. It's their adrenal system, their natural response to what's going on. That's where love is so important, because love will help you stick through that difficulty, be patient, help them cope with their feelings. And that can easily be offset by distractions, addictive behavior, drinking, drugs, and outside influences saying, oh, you don't got to deal with that. You know, just come deal with us or hang out with us. And next thing you know, that the marriage is over with, because that commitment, that strength isn't there. And that is the importance of having the covenant with God, having a partner that you can really pray with through those difficulties, because you're not going to always have the answers. But when you pray, Jesus enters the scene. You know what I'm saying? It's good to hear these stories.
My boyfriend's mum has been a huge issue in our relationship. It started off great and we got along, but eventually she got really jealous of him being with me and started being rude to me and calling me every name under the sun, including racist names. She attacked hate me and try to do everything to break us up. I'm worried it might only get worse the more serious we get. Or maybe if we get married and have kids, she'll stop for good.
He should slap his mum. Sometimes there's
Maddie, no way. No. I might even try and get this cut out of the podcast.
You're not cutting this out.
Mandy.
She's a racist. You know what you should do? Have his baby. And then guess what? Ain't no grandmama gonna see no grandbaby. Yeah. That baby grandmaless. When you got that baby, you put all the strings, a puppet show.
Actually have a kid for that reason. It's the wrong reason to have a kid.
Yeah, these are all just like my imaginations, my fantasies getting out of hand.
We have started off with the worst advice ever. Ignore Mandy, yeah?
Why is she bringing race into this? She's not a good person. Do you really want to be with her nasty ass son?
Mandy, what are you talking about?
If his parents don't like you, if his family doesn't like you, you know, don't try to earn their like. Here's my advice why. Don't try to earn them to like you, because it makes you seem like a pygmy-sha to them. You know? And if they feel that way about you, then they'll see you as clingy and desperate as well. Just be like you are already. Let them come to you.
Is it just
Because
me,
if
or
you
does this
flip the
woman always
switch
seem to give
and make them think that
bad
you
advice or
don't care if they
demonic
don't like you,
advice?
and that's
Like,
their
don't try to
problem,
get on with his
they will
family
try
because
to
you're gonna
cater
look
to
like a
you instead
pygmy-sha.
using
They're not gonna possibly
reverse
think,
psychology.
oh, she's trying to get on with us
Like,
because she loves
they'll
him.
see that you're
She
not
loves
trying
my son. She
to
loves
bend
my
over
brother.
backwards for them or seek their approval. So in response, they'll think
No,
that you
you
think
just
you're
sit
all
there
that, and they'll do
like a
the opposite, which is to try to get you to like them.
jar of honey
You gotta play the
or
reverse
a
role
pile of poo
and don't
and
care.
make
You gotta
them
let-
come fly around you and buzz around you because you the prize.
Turn it upside down. You know, at family gatherings or whatnot.
Every time I
Don't be trying
listen
to
to
fit
her,
all
it just
in and
gets
kiss
more and
butt
more
and give
different.
gifts.
I
Just be
don't
like in the
see-
corner looking cute, being like,
She has a lot of followers
y'all
and
wanna
she's
talk
always
to me,
giving
y'all know where I
advice, but
am.
it just always sounds demonic to me.
they don't
But
think it
she's
bothers you. So if
she's a
they're
big
purposely trying
influence
to
out
make
of
you
it.
think that they don't
So I
like
had
you,
to
it's
drop
not
in
going
her
to ever
2
work.
cents and
So they'll just give that up
Try
and go
to-
ahead and try to get your approval, which, you know, they don't know if your family is, you know, this or that. So
Normally I
they're
would say
going to
big
try
sense
to
out of
talk to
nonsense,
you to
but
get
it's not
information
nonsense.
or
It's
to
just
see what you're all
demonic
about.
sense.
They're not going to automatically just judge you, especially if you're not trying to, you know, get their attention or make them like you. And that goes with any family. It could be sisters, it could be like their cousins, sisters, whoever. It doesn't matter.
4 signs their family doesn't like you. Number 1, you're not greeted with warmth when you get there or see their family. There's not like this warm welcome, oh my God, so great to see you. And you can just sense like, they're not too excited about it. Number 2, they've brought up one of your partner's exes before in conversation around you without being provoked. Number 3, family outings and family group chats don't include you and never really have. And number 4, they don't laugh at your jokes. Maybe they are funny jokes, but there's something spiteful in the fact that they're not laughing. So those are 4 signs to look out for.
My mother-in-law calls me that black thing. When I'm out and about with my stepkids, people think I'm their nanny. And my stepkid's stepdad calls my husband an end lover. I am losing it. What do you think I should do? So I've married into a racist family. The only thing is that my husband isn't racist. He defends me all day long. We no longer speak to my in-laws, and it's posing a massive problem because all of them, including the birth mom, has ganged up together to come against me and my husband, and all we want to do is love my stepkids and his children. We are currently in family court. There's all sorts of lies being spewed, and honestly, if I react, I'll make things worse. I love him. He's been with me through major weight loss when I felt massively insecure. He has been my confidence. Absolutely love him. I also love my stepchildren, but I am losing the will to be civil. I don't want to hurt my husband's chances of winning access to these children, but also I don't want to be abused anymore.
If you do not have kids yet, this message is for you. Coming from a 30-year-old mom of 3 with 3 different baby daddies, listen up, y'all. While you are out here dating and talking to niggas and having a roster and just doing you, living your best life, but calling up some meat whenever you get an urge in your flesh, y'all know what I'm talking about. Y'all know exactly what I'm talking about. Use protection. Please use protection. Do not let these men who you are just having fun with, who you are just sleeping around with, impregnate y'all. Do not let these men impregnate y'all that you are not in a real committed relationship with, who you don't know like that. You don't know his family. You don't know what's in his bloodline. You don't know how he acts when he gets angry. Or you do and you like it because, you know, y'all toxic and you think it's cute. Don't let them type of men impregnate you, sis. It may be fun for now. You may think that, you know, you getting your rocks off and his meat is good. But let me tell you how it creates unnecessary trauma, unnecessary soul ties that your later self is going to regret. Now, I had my first kid at 18. I had my second kid at 21. And I was a mess in both of those stages. And even though my second baby daddy, we was in a relationship, it was very toxic. I dealt with a lot of domestic violence, a lot of cheating, a lot of dumb stuff. We both was young. I was 21. He was 27. So we dealt with all that. But long story short, he went to jail. He ain't been home since. And when he went to jail 8 years ago, I took it upon myself to level up, to be better. I didn't want to just be a baby mama. I wanted to be a wife. I didn't want to stay in the hood. I wanted to raise my kids in a better environment. So once I did all that, I attracted the man of my dreams, whom I'm with right now. And now I live the life of my dreams. Like, I live a good life and I have a good family and I'm so appreciative. Let me tell you, sometimes when you finally get what you prayed for and you thought you've healed, once you get in a new relationship and it's different, whew, man, that's when that trauma starts boiling. And that's when you are so used to arguing, to being in dysfunction, you don't even know how to love. You don't know how to be loved. You don't know how to resolve conflict. And then you have just extra baggage. And please hear my heart when I say this. I do not regret my children. But sometimes I wish I would have done it differently. Because my man, when I met him, he didn't have no kids. You know what I'm saying? So I gave him his first child. But I got so much trauma from my other 2 baby daddies that sometimes it's like a block. It's like a block right there. And it's so hard to get over that. And this man didn't do nothing to me. I'm basing everything off of what the last 2 niggas did. And that's not fair to him. And sometimes, like, I get so caught up in my feelings and in my traumas, and I bring that into the relationship. And then not even just that. The kids that I had out of wedlock with the 2 men, now they in our household causing drama. Now they're in our household because they got the DNA from their daddies, and their daddies is a whole mess, like a whole hot mess. And now the kids are just acting like their fathers, and now the next man got to deal with it. And it's not fair to him, but it is what it is. He accepts my kids, and like I said, he treats my kids like they're his. And my kids live a great life. My kids live a good life. But sometimes I just be like, wow, I really had 2 kids to randoms.
And I know you're probably wondering, why did I include the clip of the woman with the 3 children, with the 3 baby daddies? That's off topic because she's not talking about in-laws. The reason why I included it is because it's a new way of looking at family. I once was dating someone, and I guess he wanted to lock down my life without locking me down with the commitment that I was looking for, which was marriage. So his proposal to me was, let's have a baby. Let's have a baby, but I'm not ready to get married. He already had 2 other children outside of wedlock. So there's like no reason for that in my mind. And he said, well, your child will be your family. Just like you take care of your mom, your child will be your family. And since your son passed away, you need to have a child. There's validity in that. But I wasn't going to purposefully become a single parent either. So I told him to kick rocks. But when I listened to this woman, she said she's 30 years old with 3 kids, and now she's in a successful marriage and everything. What it said to me was, you still have a family with the men who are in your life because their DNA is in your life. Oh. Their DNA is in your life, in your marriage. So if you have a baby with someone and they're not around, they're still your family.
Top 3 reasons that dude's mom do not like you. Let's go. Number 1, she doesn't like her damn self. Period. Point blank. She don't even like her when she look in the mirror. Number 2, you're actually elevating her son in ways that she could never, and that's her damn son. Number 3, she's probably miserable and unhappy in her own life or relationship. And here's a bonus, she probably is jealous of you. All of that is weirdo behavior from a mother. If this lady is making sure your son is fed, took care of, loved on properly, she's faithful, she's a good woman, why the fuck you don't like her? And it just boils down to, she's everything that you're not. Like this video for more videos like this because I got a lot of shit to say, baby.
Somebody needs to hear this. When you got married, you did not marry the family. You married your spouse. Therefore, you cleave onto one another because that's biblical. You don't cleave onto the family. You cleave onto one another. And so if your family is way involved in your marriage and is even causing a level of separation in your marriage, your family, my friend, is operating in witchcraft.
God did not create Adam and Eve at the same time. He created Adam first, gave Adam his responsibility, gave Adam his word, because God holds men responsible first. When men abandon their lead responsibility, women are critical, they're essential. He uses easier kenigdo, she's an essential collaborator. But when mankind fell, God didn't come and say, Adam and Eve, where are y'all? He said, Adam, where are you? The Bible says in Adam all die, not in Adam and Eve all die.
Wow.
When God did the covenant, he said, I'm the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, not Sarah, Rebecca, and Rachel. In other words, he would hold men ultimately responsible. In Exodus chapter 34, verses 23 and 24, God called all the males, he left all the women home, and he said, if I can get you men to listen to me, I will send you back and I'll save your nation. So he holds men ultimately responsible. So when men fail, it's like the foundation of a house failing. The other parts are critical, but the stability of the other parts are dependent upon the solid foundation. Foundations don't have to be pretty, but they better be strong. So God is calling men to be strong so that everything else, family, churches, and culture, can be built on their strength. Because if not, then we're calling on women to be women and men. And God is not calling on them to be both. He's calling on us to be men. When men fail, the Bible says in Isaiah chapter 3, when men fail, it says the children rebel, the women take over, and it says the men become weak.
Wow.
So the Bible holds men ultimately responsible.
There you have it. That was the good Reverend Pastor Dr. Tony Evans. I've never heard a weird word come out of his mouth. He's an unflashy and about God's business kind of man. And it was good to hear him explain the role of men in God's eyes in terms of being a foundation for the family. We have a society now that's inundated, flooded with children being made out of wedlock, and it's the norm, like it's a normal thing, and it's okay. And single moms bear the brunt of everything on their own. I've seen them crying online and with the level of responsibility they have, having to work and be mom and pay all the bills and be everywhere at one time, and not having time for themselves, even to just get their nails done. It's really, really heartbreaking, because that was not God's intention. God's intention is for us to be in family. So I'm actually going to conclude with some scripture that I actually use this scripture, and I think probably either my first video or one of my very first videos, where the title of the video I think was How to Make the Right Decision. And this scripture also gives you direction on how to deal with toxic in-laws, toxic family members, how to navigate as a Christian woman, as a Christian man. King James Version as usual. This is Luke chapter 10 verses 5 and 6. Very simple, very short. It says, and into whatsoever house ye enter, first say, peace be to this house. And if the Son of Peace be there, if Jesus is there, your peace shall rest upon it. If not, it shall turn to you again. So what that means is, if you are dealing with real Christians, they will accept the peace that you bring with you. They will accept, even if they don't like you at first, or they give you a hard time at first, but you are extending the fellowship of Christianity in your actions, in your words, in your kind words, your kind actions, moving within a family spirit, whenever you come around. If the Spirit of Christ is among them, they will be very welcoming to you. I've experienced that. Even if the relationship doesn't even work out, sometimes you guys remain friends afterward. They just remember that with you. They remember your spirit. They remember how you made them feel when you were around, you know? However, if there is an overwhelming spirit that is not of God, it will reject you. Those people will reject you. It says your peace will return to you. So they won't receive you. That's what that means. They won't receive your kindness. They won't receive your energy at all. They'll probably try to avoid you, if anything. Like they'll probably, if they're demonic enough, they'll try to test you. And in other situations, they may just be like, you know what, let's stay away from that one. She's different, or he's different. I've been told we're not alike. We're not alike. I'll actually share that incident too, because I used to sell my designs, my clothes at pop-up shops. And there was one pop-up shop where normally if you shop my table and you're a vendor, I'm gonna shop your table, because that's just the type of person I am. And I don't like when people don't reciprocate with me when we're kind of like all in the same boat. You know what I'm saying? Like, we should support each other. But that's just how some people are. So she shopped my table, or her partner did. But when I went to their table, what they were selling was all stuff that was sexual, like sex toys and stuff like that. And I've been celibate. At the time I was fully celibate. So I had no use for any of that. And I was explaining that I was a Christian. And while her partner understood, she got upset with me and she said, I'm not buying any of your stuff and you're not like us. And it hurt at first, but now I take it for a badge of honor. It's okay. We're not going to be like everyone else. And that's okay, because our allegiance is to Christ. And Christ will bring the right people into our lives. So that's one way to make your decision as to whether or not these are people that is this a relationship you want to keep? Because there seems to be a lot of confusion as to what family is. I've heard, we heard the first pastor say, you're not marrying the family, you're just marrying the one person, which down the road in life doesn't make sense, because you're still going to have obligation to their parents and so on, extended family and grandparents and things like that. What are you going, whatever. So I know a lot of times people that don't have a problem, they'll just look like the parents will get old and then they'll just put them in a home based on their age, not even based on whether or not they're too ill or to take care of them at home. They just put them away somewhere. That's a different way of dealing with things. But it's to say just flat out that you're not marrying the family is erroneous, and it's a way of fooling yourself also, because these people, depending on how close they are to your mate, do have the power to destroy a relationship. Also, like we saw with the young lady who had 3 children, and even though the children's lives, the baby fathers who were no longer in her life per se, still had an influence on the marriage just by way of DNA. So there's a lot to take into account there. We listened to the woman who was already married, but she said that her husband dealt with a lot of trauma in his home as a child, and so he had a very strong response to things in life that was based off of trauma, whereas she didn't come from a household like that. So just dealing with him in marriage was just difficult overall. That in another way shows that you are in fact marrying the family, not just the person. So I think all of these are things to take in mind before you just accept someone at face value based on how they look or based on what they make or just how they make you feel. That's definitely not enough to make a life. You really have to get into the core of where they come from and see if that is something you can truly tolerate and incorporate and integrate into your lifestyle. And doing this all under the covenant of God so that it will work for the long term. So I hope you find this video helpful. Please subscribe. I'm trying to get my followers up, even if you don't share.